My Scentsy story starts years ago, even though I've only been in business for about 2.5 years now. When I met my husband, he had two beautiful daughters, a 3-year-old Elizabeth and a 1-day-old Alexandria. When my husband and I got married in 2001, we were an instant family. We were very blessed when my son came along in 2003, Riley, who is now 8. And then my Scentsy story started in 2005 when my son Andrew was born. And Andrew was different. And one night he finally slept most of the night, and I woke up on my own one morning. So, being a concerned mother, what do? You run to the baby's nursery to check, make sure everything's okay. And everything wasn't. He was asleep, and he was blue. I spent the night in the hospital where I watched all these monitors and beeping and sheens and things go off all night long, and I was scared to death. At 1-year-old, he was in the hospital for 2 weeks because his lungs were not developing at the rate they were supposed to. And then we were out for 3 and back in for 2, and out for 3 and back in for 2. I had been fired from my job, and I needed extra money, so I started a skincare line in 2006. And I loved it. I thought it was wonderful. It was something to get me out of the house, something to do when my child wasn't in the hospital. But it was very, very hard for me because I was constantly being pulled between preschools and basketball lessons and volleyball games for the girls and Andrew in the hospital. But I still continued to work my business. I still continued to grow. And one day I met this bubbly, excited Scentsy girl, and she sold and sold and sold at this vendor event that we were at, and no one cared about their skin. And I just looked at this product and looked at this information and said, my goodness, I've been selling my product, and no one just swoons over it. No one cares about their skin the way that they do this Scentsy product. So I left, and I was dedicated. I was going to stick with my company no matter how great that girl sold. I was going to do my thing. And I kept selling my skincare. And my son kept going into the hospital. I had stopped using candles for nearly a year because our house had burned down in 2007. So I wasn't using any open flames. And when I finally realized that Scentsy wasn't an open flame, I fell in love. Oh my gosh, it was incredible. This wonderful smell by a light bulb. Wow. So then I sat on the product from Mother's Day 2008 until June of 2008 when I saw the product again at another vendor event. And this time I met another girl and her father. And her father told me all about Scentsy. He explained the compensation plan, the recruiting, the sales, the this, the that, and told me how successful this other consultant had been with this product, and I connected with her dad. So I thought about it, and I went home and I told my husband. And of course he rolled his eyes. I was doing my skincare. I was successful. I was working. I shouldn't be thinking about anything else but skincare. So I snuck my enrollment fee and hid it and signed up. I signed up for Scentsy on a Saturday, and I received my kit the following Wednesday, and then I signed up for a booth. I knew that that's how I had worked my direct sales company before and was able to generate leads, and that's how I watched all those girls sell all their Scentsy, so that's what I decided I was going to do. I signed up for a rather expensive booth, and I had no stock. So I borrowed stock from my upline, and I was able to sell and sell and sell and book and book and book, and I booked a ton of parties. And I told my husband, when I run out of parties, I'll quit. And then I still was working for my other direct sales company, the skincare company, and their national convention was coming up, and I was already registered for it. The top income earners attend everything. So knowing that, I decided to go ahead and go to the national convention for my skincare company. And Scentsy just kept coming back up. People were signing up on my website, people were talking to me, people were asking me to do parties, and it just kept coming up, and it kept being presented in my life. So I continued to do both for a little while. I don't remember exactly what month I hit director and how quickly it happened. I just remembered that I was overjoyed with excitement. At that point, I decided to let my skincare company go and focus just on Scentsy. I attended Scentsy's national convention in 2009, and I came home all excited, ready to work my business. In late August, early September of 2009, tragedy hit our family. My son's lung had collapsed, and we were put in the hospital. We were released from the hospital, only to go down to Florida to see a specialist in Tampa for his lung. The specialist decided that we needed to be put on the lung transplant list because his lung had only developed to that of a 3-year-old, and he was 5. While we were in Florida, we noticed that he breathed better. He acted better. He didn't have as many asthma attacks, and everything seemed different. We already knew he was having asthma attacks constantly, but we didn't understand why. So when the doctor suggested that maybe it was allergy-induced asthma, we ran some tests. He was tested for 200 things. He came up allergic to 176 of them. Top on his list were tobacco, corn, soy, pine, wheat, oak, maple, grass, things that were all indigenous to the Midwest. The reason he did so much better in Florida was because he wasn't in that environment, and the environment was different for him. So we decided, after building our brand new beautiful home back in Illinois, that we were going to have to move. My husband owns a business back in Illinois called The Computer Doctor, and he does computer service and repair. He couldn't just up and move that business here. All of his clients, employees, everyone was there. We were going to take 1 year. I was going to build my Scentsy business as fast as I could and grow whatever I could, and then we would move. In February of 2010, his lung collapsed again. And Riley and Andrew and I packed up in the car and grabbed a friend and drove to Florida. We spent nearly 2 weeks here, and Andrew had a remarkable improvement. In fact, I forgot his medication one day when we were going to the beach, and I could not believe. I was freaking out, going, we have to get back to the hotel. I've got to give this baby his medicine. And he hadn't had an asthma attack. It was at that point I called my husband and I said, I don't care. I don't know how. I don't know what we're going to do, but I have to move. So we drove back to Illinois, packed my van full of anything we had to have, but really, without Scentsy, my son wouldn't be alive. We were living check to check just like everyone else. Without the added Scentsy income, there would have been no money for me to move. There would have been no way for me to transfer to Florida and take my son out of the environment that he was in and provide him with this one. Andrew's everyday life was living on the couch. He would wake up in the morning and he would watch cartoons on the couch. He would play in the bathtub because he could float and there was no weight on his body to work. And he would get out of the bathtub and he would lay on the couch and he would go to school for 2 hours and he would come home and he would take a nap because he was exhausted. And he would lay on the couch for the rest of the evening. He lived in a bubble. When we moved to Florida after 1 month, his lung capacity went from 7% to 60%. And he went from 13 daily medications, including 4 shots, to 1. I'm proud to tell you that Scentsy has provided me with this amazing life. And my son swims. He's in karate. He rides a bicycle. He goes to school all day. He doesn't take a nap. And he has 96% lung capacity. So the moral of my story is I never gave up. No matter how busy I was, no matter how much it seemed like the world was coming down on me, no matter what, I attended the conventions, I attended the events, I pushed my business, I invited everyone to join me. My dream was to hit the Superstar Director, which is the top paid level in Scentsy. And I hit that in November of 2010. So now I have to have a new dream. So my new dream is to have 6 Superstar Directors on my team. Have a sensational week.
Thank you,